just finished an amazing tasting at Haut Brion. We tasted La Mission, Haut Brion, the second wines. We tasted a new wine from Saint-Simon, Quintus, which used to be Terre du Guet. But we had 2011, 2010, and 2009. And really, I've heard things that 11, disappointing. I'm really impressed. It's a beautiful wine. The problem is you're tasting 2010 and 2009. If we forgot those two vintages, I think we'd be pretty excited about 11. But Robert, tell me what you think about 11 in comparison to those two vintages, to 9 and 10, the great vintages.
We're excited about the birth of every new child, and the fact is that 2011 is a great wine. It's just, it happens to be, in this case, next to 09 and 10, which are absolute behemoths as far as the history of wine in Bordeaux over the last 100 years are concerned, both of them. When you have to relativize, when we're talking about these vintages, we're talking about the likes of the 61s, the 59s, the 45s, the 89s, and to put them side by side. So here we have a concentration over the last 10 years of some of the best wines that have been produced in Bordeaux. And in 2011, I think if you took them out of this context and you put them in the 60s, 70s, 80s decades, these wines would be some of the best that were produced, 50s included. So I'm very excited about the quality within the context which no one else is tasting. So I was having as much fun as you tasting them next to the 2009s. They do not pale by comparison. They are wonderful concentrated wines. And I think that it's just that we've been so exceptionally spoiled over the last 10 years in the kind of vintages that we've produced here in Bordeaux, and also that our winemakers have become particularly paranoid and as far as the selection is concerned, the work that's been done in the vineyard, and I think that the work that has been undertaken by my colleagues here in Bordeaux has been better than ever. But we also have the economic means to have been able to do that, and the obsession to want to produce the best wine every year.
Impressive. And Jean-Philippe, what about you as a winemaker? When you taste your 11 against the 10 and the 9, what do you think? Are you happy? Well, this is really good. I mean, even for you, you're like us as people that love drinking Bordeaux. The 9 and 10 are so special, but then the 11 in the end, c'est pas mal.
For 9 and 10 is more than pas mal, for sure. But it's always it's more and more difficult to compare these young vintages with the other vintages by the past, because as you said before, we have done in the last few years so many improvements in the vineyards and at the gate of the vat house, and then, as you said before, Monsieur, in the so many selection for the blend, so the wines from the 21st century, even if the weather condition is very close to some vintages by the past, the wine is not the same. So the 11, for example, is not an easy vintage, because the spring was quite very dry, the driest spring than ever, and the challenge was to select the perfectly ripe berries, and so we do a lot of work outside. We do a lot of work at the gate, a special machine since now, the optical sorting machine, and it works perfectly well in the 2011 vintage. So it's another kind of wine. It's the 11 for the weather condition. It's maybe the 94, but with the modern techniques. So it's not possible to compare with 94 and 11. 11 is much better than 94, with the same kind of, I would say, matière première. So we and for 10 or 9, special vintage, and for me it's maybe we can compare 09 and 10 with 89 and 90, because the 09 it's so perfect.
How about 59 and 61?
No, because for me we have this kind of freshness in the 10, than we have in the 90 vintage. But there's a ripeness for the 09 and 89. It's not overripe, but it's kind of maybe exotic for our estates. So for this kind of balance, we have a kind of ressemblance, if I may say, between 89 and again, and 09 and 90 and 2010. 59 and 61 is close to the 89. Okay. But for me, there is no comparison between 61 and, for example, 90.
That's true.
It is, for me, it's 59, 61, 89, 2009. This is kind of the same style of wine.
Okay. Well, the great thing is what I like about Bordeaux is obviously we have two fabulous vintages, 2009 and 2010. Sure. You have an excellent year or very good year, 2011. I have to taste more. But what I love about Bordeaux is that intellectual opportunity to actually discuss it, think about historically how it tastes.
Sure.
I think that's Bordeaux. And
I think it's particularly interesting with these three vintages also. And the fact that 2010, we don't usually taste the wines at this particular stage. Usually the 2000, we taste it when it's en primeur and we taste it when it's in the bottle. Of course you do, I don't. Sure. As much, so it's interesting to taste it in between. So the 2010 having been closed again is it will change remarkably in the next 12 months and when it was put in bottles. So it's a fascinating moment to be able to taste these three back to back.
Well, great tasting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.